Well, I'm going to talk about a few topics and then turn it back to you for questions. I think everyone in Montgomery County is talking now about the news that we heard last week about Amazon's inclusion of Montgomery County in the list of 20 communities across the country that they are considering for their future headquarters too. And I think we are all very enthusiastic here and feel that it's a terrific reflection of Montgomery County's desirability in terms of economic development and our potential for the future. And the county, I think, really can feel good about our ongoing transformation, becoming a community that is very diverse and advancing transportation priorities that are multimodal, that is increasingly succeeding with its workforce development and strong programs in the college and the schools, providing terrific quality of life amenities like parks, even making progress on super high-speed internet and broadband infrastructure. There's just a lot of very strong positive attributes of living and working in Montgomery County, and we are very happy about the news. As we enter into the next phase, we'll really be eager to see how these discussions go, and obviously looking very much at what the governor will be, looking forward to what the governor has put on the table, and the council will be, eagerly awaiting the results of more conversation with Amazon. Next topic is the federal shutdown. We're very, very concerned about the impact of the shutdown on our community. We have over 73,000 Montgomery County residents who are employed by the federal government. I'm sure many more who are contractors, and many of them are probably packing up their boxes and heading home from their offices as we speak. And we hope that Congress can take bipartisan action and resolve this impasse that has shut the government down. And we're especially concerned that the ultimate solution, that is found in Congress will ensure that the pay is restored and that people are not furloughed without pay. That would be grossly unfair, and it would have a very negative impact on Montgomery County. So that is happening now. We are working our way through the savings plan, and we received this January 2nd. Our council is on track to take final action next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, and the committees are working their way through, and it's going very well. So we're going to, without a doubt, enact a substantial mid-year budget savings that will put us in a much better place as we begin the FY19 budget in the coming months. So those are some of the topics that I have, and now I'll ask for your questions and comments, or questions, I think.
Have you had a chance to look at the details that the governor has released this morning, and what's the location that everyone's talking about? You said everyone's talking about this. Are they talking about possible locations here in Montgomery County?
I think Montgomery County would welcome Amazon's, decision in any number of locations. So really what is going to work for them is we'll find out what they're interested in. I think the exciting thing is that now we're at the table with them, and we can find out what their interests are and what possibilities exist in the county. There's so many. The governor's package announced this morning is, has a line in there, I think a few $1 billion for as of yet detailed transportation improvements. So we'll see what he has in mind there. certainly I think that resolving the long-term funding issue for WMATA and getting a surge of funding in place so that WMATA can take a huge transformational step forward in infrastructure, that should be a foremost concern for Maryland and for the district and for Virginia. And I think that's highly relevant to this conversation. And beyond that, we'll see what the governor has in mind for his multimodal transportation package, as his spokesperson was quoted in the Washington Post today.
Montgomery County did pitch a site to Amazon. Is there a plan to reveal what Montgomery County has pitched, and also the incentives Montgomery County pitched to the company in the coming days?
First we need to better understand the nature of confidentiality in these discussions, and precisely what information will be released and what will not be released. The county executive was quoted very recently saying that he does intend to share that information. I think we're going to, need to better understand what the next week, month, several months will bring us as far as sharing that information. Obviously there's a lot of conversation now about the tax incentives, and what I'd say is this is going to have to be a good deal for Montgomery County, and I think there's without a doubt a win-win here. But now it's our turn to act on behalf of our community as well. So there's going to be a lot to work through, a lot of details to work through as the conversation proceeds. So we're still gathering more information about what the next steps are in the process.
The state's pitched $5 billion. Can you say how much the county has pitched in terms of the value of its incentives?
I would really need to send you to the county executive for that information.
What would you say to someone who says that they don't think it's right that the county and the state are working together to provide millions, if not millions of dollars of tax incentives to one of the country's largest corporations?
I would say that this has to be a really good deal for Montgomery County. That at the end of the day, the impact needs to be very strongly positive, and that we do offer incentives to companies that want to expand or locate in Montgomery County. When we do that, we have a very specific way that we evaluate, the cost and benefit, and we don't approve incentives that are not strongly in the benefit of the community and of the county government. So we have a methodology, we have an approach, and when companies don't fulfill their end of agreements, then there are even clawback provisions. So we have a way of addressing this that I think will need to be well understood by the community, because naturally there's going to be a lot of concerns, and I think there may be misperception as to what's really involved here.
What does a good deal mean? What does the average person living in Riemer County get out of a incentive package to Amazon?
Yeah, well, the opportunity to grow the job base in Montgomery County is one that really distributes benefits to the whole community, and the income taxes that are paid by people who have high-paying jobs are income tax revenues that are available to support the schools and community needs. And the property taxes that are paid by companies that are located in office buildings are property taxes that are available to pay, for community needs. So there's a lot of positives in the ledger, and the positives need to, significantly outweigh the incentives that are provided. And that's how we review all incentives that we consider. And this would be no different.
How do you prevent what Delegate Bill Frick said he fears, a circular firing squad, as DC, Virginia, and Montgomery County
vie for Amazon? Do you worry about ways they might step on each other's toes and actually send the whole thing crashing down?
No.
Why not?
You know,
Because everyone talks a big game about regional cooperation until
Yeah.
it's time to get that corporate entity in their backyard.
I think that's, you know, that sounds, anyway,
That sounds what?
it is great that Washington as a region is so high on the priority list for Amazon. And I think that is really important information. I mean, when you look at their list of 20, there's 3 different jurisdictions in the Washington region that are on their list. So I think that tells you that they're very interested in Washington. And as far as I'm aware, no other region in the country has that kind of representation. And so, you know, now we sit down at the table, and let's just keep in mind that Amazon will, you know, make its own decisions as to what it wants. And so, you know, we will work together. I think examples like WMATA is an example of where we need to act as one region and press forward to resolve the single biggest transportation issue in the Washington region. But I think that this will work itself out in a very constructive manner. I'm not particularly worried about jurisdictions, you know, harming the chances for the Washington region. I don't think that's, you know, that's not really a credible concern, in my opinion.
Are there concerns for traffic congestion or spike in housing prices if one of the sites was brought to Montgomery County?
Of course, you know, this is a huge impact. You know, when you look at down the road, you're talking about, you know, Amazon's talking about 50,000 direct hires and as many or more associated jobs created at companies that provide services to Amazon or spin off out of Amazon. So you're talking about over a long period of time, mind you. It's not, you know, immediate, but over a period of 10, 20 years, you're talking about a significant expansion of the job base in the county. And so that's why we need to invest in transportation infrastructure, and we would need to invest in school construction. We would need to invest in all of the things that we do in order to meet a much higher demand that would be placed. And I know that's, of course, you know, a significant concern for people who live here is how will this fit? So we're going to have our work cut out for us, I think, to plan that out. But the good news is, you know, we have been planning in this county for that kind of potential. And there are places, you know, we have multimodal transportation infrastructure. We have Metro. We have a big plan now on the table for 270 expansion. So, you know, the infrastructure is. We have the Purple Line that's arriving. You know, we are making and can expand further the kinds of transportation investments that are needed in order to to address the impact of such a substantial growth in our job base. But no doubt it would be a huge challenge. No question about it.
Question. I apologize if you already touched on this, but can I ask, what is your first blush reaction to Maryland's governor offering a $5 billion package of tax incentives and transportation? Sorry if you'd already answered that, but just your base reaction to that $5 billion number there.
I think it's helpful, and we appreciate the governor's, you know, strong stand here to help work with us and help us succeed with Amazon. And, you know, the governor has said that there's $2 billion in transportation investments as part of that package. So we're, you know, we'll see how that matches with the game plan here. But I think it's good news, and it can only help.
You mentioned that the county has been planning for a long time to prepare for something like this. Can you talk about specifically in White Flint, what kind of plans have been put in place and approved by the council, long-term zoning and land use regulations that have been passed that could potentially grow that area if Amazon were to consider it?
Sure. You know, I'll say this without being prejudicial about what properties are involved, but in 2010, the county council enacted a very visionary plan for Rockville Pike, for White Flint. And we're continuing actually to build on that, with the recent White Flint 2 plan that the council passed just weeks ago. The Grosvenor plan we passed weeks ago. The Rock Spring plan we passed weeks ago. We have been planning 20 years down the road to allow for the county's transformation from suburban shopping centers to urban centers. And it's, of course, extremely relevant that, that's a good example of where you could place such a large number of jobs in the future. You couldn't put them all in the, third aisle at Toys R Us, but you can put them in a very large office building that can land in that same location as a result of the zoning change that the county council approved. So, the county council has been aggressive in recent years about, planning for the future. And the fact that a large employer could look at the county and find multiple places that it could land is a terrific reflection on the long-term vision that the council has embraced.
Has Amazon given you any idea of a timeline of how these negotiations will take place and what the next few months or weeks will look like?
My understanding is that the executives team is in active discussion with them right now. So we'll find out more from the county executive and his representatives soon about what the timeline will be.
Is there anything that the county council would have to do in that process? What would your role be?
That's a great question. The way that we do economic incentives is we delegate to the executive to negotiate, and then we approve or not. And so that's a regular process for us here at the county council, and I'm sure that this would be no different.
Are there any concerns that companies that would be looking to come to Montgomery County in the future would expect the same size of incentive package or the sort of similar incentives and on that scale?
Well, the interesting thing is, although there's been, so much talk about it, we'll see what the scale of the package really is, right? And the reality is the county does provide substantial incentives to major companies that have very high value expansions. And the scale of what Amazon is talking about is so much larger that it makes everything seem so much larger. But on a per employee basis, it may not be that much different. Time will tell. But yeah, when you're talking about expansions, we typically deal in the expansions of 1, 2, 300 jobs. Like a 300 job expansion would be a significant one for us. Well, when you're talking about 50,000 jobs, then it's just a different scale. So it may not be, substantially. It may be. I would say it may be consistent with our existing practices.
How firm is that 50,000 jobs number? Is that a guarantee, or is that a possible potential? Are they going to put 50,000 people in one facility if they told you? Because there's again some question about whether 50,000 is a accurate number of exactly what we'll see here.
Oh well, 50,000 is their estimate of their company's future growth over a period of years. So, is that how Amazon's future will unfold? That will be up to the success of Amazon.
So again, it's an estimated number.
Correct. It's Amazon's estimated number over a period of years. And they also provide, that's their direct hire number. They estimate a substantially larger number of additional jobs that are associated with their growth.
I apologize if this is at all getting off topic just a tiny bit, but do you think the council should approve the savings plan as recommended by the county executive at this time?
I think the council should approve the savings plan that the council wants to approve. We are taking up the savings plan through committee work now, and we are making adjustments to it as we go. So we will be considering a final savings plan next Tuesday, not tomorrow, but the week after tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a very strong savings plan. So.
How quick of a turnaround is this for the savings plan? Typically for the budget, it's kind of months of going through committee hearings. This seems to be like a couple of weeks of doing this.
This is normal for savings plans, but it is quick work for, the budget process in general. This is my third savings plan since I've been at the county council. This is about the same time that, we have taken for the previous two savings plans. So it's always quick work.
Are you anticipating cuts to MCPS and Montgomery College like the county executive proposed?
Well, the Education Committee met last week, and they did recommend a savings plan for MCPS and the college. And the discussion that happened between the council and the administration of MCPS, led council members to feel very confident that any savings would not have an impact in the classroom. And so that has been the framework that we have embraced, and I think that's the right way to proceed.
Has Amazon said whether it would whittle down jurisdictions to like a group of 5, a group of 10, and at that point, would it be on those jurisdictions to up its incentives? Is this a continuing battle in trying to deal with this company, or is this going to be the incentives that each 20 offer will be weighed against each other?
Honestly, I think you have to. They want to locate in the best place that is for them to grow in the future. And they've said what they're looking for, right? They're looking for a highly capable workforce, a community that will allow them to attract and retain the kinds of people that they need to continue their growth. And that, it's not really, that's the bigger question for them, is where is the place that they can grow over time? So the incentives are part of the conversation, but the big picture is they're looking for a place so that they can attract and retain workers.
But just back to my question, do you know if the list will be whittled down to?
Oh, I don't know how they'll proceed. That's their, we'll see how they explain their approach.
And if they do whittle it down in the future, just hypothetical, and they ask for additional incentives, would the county be prepared to make even more incentives at that point if they make it to the short list?
I'm not going to negotiate. I'm not negotiating this whole arrangement here. I think that we should again keep focused on the big picture here, which is this is a tremendously powerful region to locate in, and we have an incredibly capable labor force, and Montgomery County particularly shines when you consider the potential of a company to attract and retain its workforce. Our spectacular schools, our transportation, our burgeoning downtowns, our cultural diversity. These are the kinds of assets that a company would want to be able to access to grow in the future.
What kind of impact do you think that Amazon's presence would have on people who are living in poorer parts of the county?
That's a great question, and I think that, really that's where the county government needs to play an important role in ensuring that opportunities that are created are opportunities that are inclusive to the whole community. And whether that is through creating workforce programs, as we're doing more and more of today, that create a pipeline right from high school through Montgomery College, through the University of Maryland, right into the workforce of the company. That's where we have the opportunity, I think, to make Amazon's location here, as we are trying to do with the companies that are already here, an opportunity that is shared by everybody, and that is a door that is open to everybody in our community. But that really does require very smart work on behalf of the local government.
Are you hearing anything from constituents who are furloughed or federal government employees in the county?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, not to repeat my bland postings on social media, but I had a birthday party this weekend for my son. He turned 7, and there were 2 parents, from 2 different families who, one who works at NIST and one works at FDA, and described my friend at NIST that he was, heading in on Monday morning to, kind of prep for the downtime of not being able to do the work, and that he had 4 hours, that was the orders. You got 4 hours to kind of put your work on the shelf. And then I have a family member who my wife's cousin, who works at FDA, and we spent a lot of time talking over, how this is perceived within the workforce, and what this is going to mean for her. So, it's something that it just has a huge impact in our community, and I think the primary concern as a community here is let's get this resolved as soon as possible, and let's make sure that that these workers are not denied their pay.
Is there anything the county can do? I guess we'll find out in a minute whether the Senate voted or not. What can the county do for these people?
Well, I think we can continue to raise our voice and urge Congress to act, and just continue to speak out and work with our delegation here to try to resolve this. So,
But pardon me, sir, can you shout loud enough to pay their mortgage? Again, that's why I'm putting on the table today the point that we need Congress to ensure that it does provide the back pay. That has always happened in the past, and there's no reason to think it won't happen this time. But these are also crazy times, so let's just put a pin on that and make sure that members of Congress understand it's not fair to hold the workforce, to treat them in that manner as a result of congressional decisions.
What would you say to Maryland's 2 senators on this government shutdown? Because, Democrats are taking a stand on DACA. So do you think they should continue to take that stand on DACA and, keep the government shut down until they can get some type of deal with the Republicans on them?
Yeah, I think that I applaud the Democrats' strong stand on DACA. I do think we need a bipartisan solution in Congress. And, at the end of the day, I would urge our senators to continue working towards a bipartisan solution.
So do you think they should continue to fight for DACA even if it means the government continues to be kept from being shut down? Is that more important?
I think that a bipartisan solution can be achieved that includes DACA, absolutely. Okay. Doug?
Just wanted to ask, do you have an estimate on how big the savings plan will be that you ultimately pass, or?
I don't, because we're still doing our work, and we haven't, there's some pretty important council staff work that is ongoing right now. So, as I stated some weeks ago, it could be more, it could be less, but it's going to be, a very strong savings plan that'll really move the ball forward substantially towards our next budget.
Any idea at least how close it'll be to the 120 million that was proposed?
Well, the county executive sent over about half of that, in my remember. But, it'll be, I really don't know yet, regret to say. But next week, I'll know for sure.
And Pats or Eagles?
I'm sorry, Pats or Eagle. No dog in that fight. Okay, thank you very much.